Okay, this video is about the oil I use in my particular motorcycle, the Magician 250 RPS, Ricky Power Sport. From what I've been hearing in the community about these Chinese motorcycles and the oils people are using, I seem to see a lot of people complaining about the Valvoline. They call this one a particular cheap motor oil for your motorcycle. And a lot of people are saying you got to buy the more expensive race motorcycle oil because of the clutch. And I didn't know what they are talking about because this is one I've been using ever since I got the motorcycle. My break-in period was the mineral oil 2050 that I've been going with, and the 10W40 is what I like using during spring and stuff, and fall. During winter, I guess I kind of still use this, but I like to use the 1030. And during the hot summer season, I like switching to 2050 synthetic. Now, the experience that I had is just before my motor oil change, the oil change for my motorcycle, at about 8,500, I was getting this weird clutch problem. And basically, when I pulled in the clutch, everything was fine. But then usually about halfway, maybe about 40%, just before I reach 50%, I usually have the clutch engage and start gripping. And that's when I time myself switching gears if I need to switch fast, because that's what you got to do with these weak powered motorcycles. It's meant for the dirt, not really for the street. But anyway, the experience I was finding is that I would almost have to go 100% release before the clutch would engage. Now people were saying it's because of the cheap oil that you're putting in. Okay. Yeah, it is cheap. I think that this is like $7.50 or something at this particular date and time. But if you think about it, if you have to release almost 100%, that means the springs inside the clutch has to fully engage, which means the friction isn't there. It's not engaging. It's slipping. So if it's slipping, that means this thing is working too good. Do you understand? Now, if I were to put only this engine oil inside there, it wouldn't have the wet clutch lubricants necessary. It'll be just fine for the piston, but not for the wet clutch. This particular motor oil for the motorcycles and ATVs, they've got a special blend that they put in there that's good for the wet clutch, so it doesn't grab too much. Now, what I think is happening is that they put too much of that stuff in here. Okay, Valvoline could actually save some money by reducing it. Now, at 8,500 miles, I understand that my clutches are probably starting to wear out, not 100%. And my particular theory behind this is because I tried adjusting it like a lot of other guys. I tried going from one severe to the other severe, both not in the handle, but also up in here in this region. I tried adjusting, the nut all the way over here and all the way over there as much as I could. Nothing helped. And so it was like really throwing me off until I had to sit there and actually think about what was going on. And the only thing I could think of for my next oil change was to use some car engine oil, because I started thinking like, hey, this stuff is working too good now. Okay, my clutch discs, the pads aren't gripping anymore, and because of that, there's too much of the wet clutch lubricant in this particular oil. Now I wanted to stay full synthetic, so what I did is I put 3/4 of this as an experiment into my my engine, and then I got one of these empty bottles. I have I always keep an extra one, and I went ahead and took some of this this standard motor oil for your car, but it's as you can see, it's full synthetic. It doesn't have any kind of extra lubricants in there or anything. And with the empty bottle, I went ahead and took some of this and I replaced what I saw in this one, in the empty one. And then I went ahead and poured that in my crankcase. I checked the level because my particular motorcycle, they say it takes a little over 1 quart. I disagree. According to the dipstick, it takes 1 quart. So, I don't like going over that the mark on the dipstick. So I like staying within. I don't like it dropping below or anything. I usually keep it within. And then I went and took it out for a ride. The first mile, it didn't really show anything, and I think it's because of the clutch pads were still saturated with too much of this stuff in there, and but after a while it started to engage. I was kind of surprised, and I'm at about 9,200 miles, I think, and I got about another 500 miles to go before I change the oil. But this is part 1. I'll do a part 2, maybe even a part 3, and let you guys know what's going on. I might stick with the 10W40 and then stick with the 10W30 blend. I might even actually increase it or decrease it depending upon what the conditions are. The closer I get. But personally, I don't think you need to buy expensive oils or anything. But then again, I'm not a mechanic. Okay, I'm just some guy that it's kind of cheap. I don't want to spend $11, $14 for racing motor oil or anything like that. And I'm trying to find a way to save a little bit of money and keep it in my pocket. For those of you that want to try this, go ahead, but you got to take your own responsibility on the actions you take. So if in doubt, I guess you go the route the other guys are going. But that racing oil that I see people using is actually intended for a car, and it was never intended for a motorcycle. So you're experimenting there as well. At least with this one, you're putting 3/4 of motorcycle oil in there with the wet clutch lubricant added in there already, and then you're only adding 25% of this car motor oil. I don't think it's too bad. But as my clutch wears on, I'm thinking maybe I'm at maybe 50% of the life, which is kind of surprising. I was expecting something like maybe 20, maybe 25,000 miles on my wet clutch, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm riding the clutch a little too much, when I took off the light. Who knows? It could be partly my fault. It could just be the manufacturer using some thin clutch pads or something. I have no idea. But all I know is that this works for me, and I don't know. Maybe you guys want to try it out and let me know in the description down below, the comment section. And like I said, keep an eye out for part 2, because I'll let you know in the next oil change. And hopefully this works out, and we can find a way to keep these motorcycles on the road a little bit longer. That way we don't have to keep swapping out clutch pads, you know what I mean? All right, guys. Bye.